Today's topic actually is going to be sort of like maybe a kind of understanding about what nature is first. And then after that, learning why the Buddha represented himself as a teacher of natural laws. Because we come to the definition of the word dharma or dhamma. What's the meaning of this word dhamma? Dhamma is actually very simply identified as the laws of nature. And the laws of nature is the one that governs this universe that we exist in. And also the laws of nature governs practically every thoughts, every speech and every action. And the Buddha spent 45 years teaching on nothing else except what are the laws of nature. So that once we are able to understand the various laws of nature, then we will have to learn to live in accordance with it, so that we not go against. Because the moment we go against the laws of nature, then nature develops a force or a repercussion, which can then hit back on you. So it's equally said that the law of action and reaction. In order not to get reaction, then you don't do an action. And that is what we commonly call the law of karma. Karma is also part of the natural laws. As later on when we go through this sutta, you'll find that the Buddha then explained what are the natural laws and why we have to be in connection with it. And once we learn how it works, then we live in harmony with the natural laws. Because you understand, well, the law takes its form like this. Therefore, if you don't want this kind of repercussions, and you don't want this kind of results, you don't want this kind of reaction, then avoid from disturbing the law of nature. Then it boils down to the understanding of what we call the forces of energy. And then we have to learn about the universe. How the universe is like. It is big mass of energy. And we learn how this energy works, how it responds to the various reactions and challenges, and the path that it takes. And then we maneuver in accordance with it. And it is said that if we live in harmony with it, in accordance with it, then we will be free from the repercussion and the results of this. So live in accordance to the Dhamma, then you'll be free from the repercussions of the forces that will be released as a result. Same thing with other religions, they are also talking the same thing. Live in accordance with the law of God, then you'll be free from His punishment. In Islam, it's also the same thing. Live in accordance with the law of Allah. So, in order to be free from that wrath or that punishment or that reaction, which causes us a lot of unsatisfactoriness and suffering and dukkha, then we will learn these natural laws. And then we understand it, we become enlightened in it, and then we live in accordance with it, then we will be free from all the repercussions which causes us to have suffering or dukkha. So that is the nature of dukkha. Dukkha means there is a reaction that causes us to suffer as a result. We learn from this person. This man once lived as a prince of Kapilavastu, or the kingdom of Kapilavastu. And he is one of the tribes, which is called the Sakya tribes. His wife and mother comes from another kingdom called the Koliyas. So there are many kingdoms at that time. And when he was born, he was predicted that he will one day either become a great king or a great religious teacher. Of course, there's one particular one, which is called a sutta, which says that he will be a great religious teacher, not a great king. And that's why his father was very worried that he would not have an heir to the throne, because if he renounced and become a great religious teacher, then he won't come back to the kingdom and runs the kingdom and rule over the kingdom. So he protected him, and he prevents him from thinking about anything that is full of dukkha. So he keeps away from dukkha. And when he was young, he learns the art of governing, he learns the art of warfare, he learns how to be a great ruler. But yet he was, by compassionate nature, he was actually very kind, gentle-hearted, and he do not like to see suffering. So as we know, he later on saw the four sights, because he stalled up in the palace. They were keeping him in the palace all the time. He saw the four sights. What did he see? He saw an old human being, an old person. And that person was very weak. Very, can't do the things that he likes, and eventually he can't eat properly, he can't walk properly. And he asked the charioteer, why is this person like that? The charioteer says, well, this is an old man, and everybody one day will have to become old. Then he says, can I not become old? The charioteer says, no. You are inevitably going to become old like this, and one day your father, your mother, your wife, and everyone else will become old like this. He was very disturbed by that, for that sight. Then he saw a sick man, a person who is sick, suffering in pain, a lot of pain and sweating and weakness, vomiting. He says, why is this man like that? Because this man is suffering a kind of a sickness, and he's an ill person. Then he said, will I be like that too? The charioteer says, I'm sorry, you also one day will have to fall ill. You cannot escape. Then he saw a dead corpse, a corpse lifeless, everybody wailing and crying over the loss. And he says, one day will I be like this? The charioteer says, yeah, one day you will also be in this kind of form. And it's actually very miserable. And of course, the last sight he saw was a mendicant, an ascetic. And when he saw the ascetic, he says, why is this man so peaceful and so calm? The charioteer answered that this man is going out in search of the answers and the solution, so that man will no longer have to grow old, become sick, and die. And that's the reason why he has discovered some liberation, and he was at peace with himself. So the Buddha then says, can I escape from all this? Can my parents escape from all this? He said, one day, if you be like the mendicant, then you probably have an answer and the solution to end all this dukkha once and for all. So then he set forth, renounced, give up all his princely life and luxury. Then he became a mendicant himself, an ascetic that goes round. And for 6 long years, he learned from teacher to teacher. But yet he still couldn't find the answer of why we have to suffer old age, sickness, and death. And be subjected to so much unsatisfactoriness of life called dukkha. Then one day, he realized that the methods that he's been practicing for the past 6 years is not worthy, is not good enough. He then remembered an exercise that he did under the rose apple tree when he was a young boy. And that he focused his mind and he watches phenomena. The phenomena of breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. And he maintained his peace. He maintained his solace, he maintained his comfortableness, and was sustainable. And because of that, he realized the goodness of watching over these natural ways of practice. Then he finds a tree which is comfortable enough. At that time it was called a pipal tree. And then he sat under that pipal tree and says, I will not rise from this seat until I gain my answers to solve old age, sickness and death once and for all. True enough, on the full moon night, during the Vesak month, he then realized three things, or three characteristics of phenomena, of energies, of conditions that arise in the world. And he named them anicca, anatta, dukkha. That all phenomena, if they are conditioned to exist, it will be fluctuating. It will be impermanent. It will change from one form to another. From a young person will change to an old person. From a healthy person will change to a sick person. From a person who is alive will change to a person who is eventually dead and like a corpse. And these changes are inevitable. And it's the truth. Second is that there's no permanent entity which you can arrest and says, don't change. But this non-permanent entity is impossible. Therefore, that non-permanent entity will always keep on changing from one form to another. And finally, of course, if you want to arrest to a phenomena that you say, don't change, but it keep on changing, then you will be disappointed. Dukkha. Anicca, change, impermanence. Anatta, there is no permanent entity that you can grasp and say hold. Third, if you want to hold and make it permanent, then you are going to be disappointed. Dukkha. So anicca, anatta, dukkha. So on that night when he realized these things about the energy around him, he then became an enlightened Buddha. A Buddha is a person who gets buddhi, enlightened. That's why he's called a Buddha, Bodhi person.